1925, when this Dhuni was lighted at Mehrabad, Baba's table was under this tree. Baba's table was under this tree. Baba had just started his silence, which was in July, and during that year the rains had failed. It was all signs of famine. So some people, some villagers from a distant village came with bhajan, singing bhajan from this end to request Baba to grant them a blessing so that it may rain. Baba and the Mandali were just sitting there. There was no Dhuni then. They came here, requested Baba, Baba, the primary rains have failed. Now if these secondary rains fail, we are all lost. Baba just listened to them, told the Mandali, prepare for Dhuni. Well, Dhuni means just a pit in the ground, some faggots, some wood, a matchstick, and there you are. All right, all preparations were made, and then the Dhuni was lighted just in front of Baba's table. Then Baba said, sing Upasni Maharaj's Aarti. Everybody sang. And while singing, it started raining and we all got drenched. And till the Aarti was finished, Baba himself was also there, everybody was there, and nothing doing. But then, at the same time, Baba told the villagers, all right, from here you go back straight to your village. Don't go anywhere else. Some people may have had some relations in the village and they just detained their going back into the village. But anyway, by the time they could reach their village, they too were all drenched. Their wish was granted. From that day onwards, this Dhuni has been continually lighted. Once, when Baba and the Mandali had gone away to some place, and the man in charge was told to keep it lighted. Keep it lighted. But he neglected it. When Baba and the Mandali came back, this Dhuni was cold. Baba says, how is it? Baba, that is my fault. Then Baba then ordered that on every 12th of every month, you shall light this Dhuni. So this Dhuni is lighted now on the 12th of every month. I'll tell you one funny incident. Baba was here in the table, secluded, writing the book, and Masaji, Pendu's father, was the night watchman. Being cold season and feeling chilly, he came near to Dhuni. Being comfortable, he still went near the Dhuni and started becoming dopey. The spark of the Dhuni caught his muffler, fell on the muffler. All of a sudden, Masaji smells something burning. He just looks around. Then he looks up. He says, I'm on fire. Nobody is on fire. Then he tells the incident to Baba. Baba also has laughed. Then later on, Baba tells us all to write a song on Dhuni. I don't know. Well, everybody tries his level best, and everybody wrote, some in Marathi, some in Gujarati. That was the only two languages that was written in. And Mr. Tade here will just sing you one of the songs of Dhuni.
He snored also loudly. We could hear his snoring outside also. And that was the time we used to take liberty with ourselves. But it was very dangerous. Bhau told you about the tin. The tin that fell on Baba's foot. So this reminded me of another, because Bhau just now gave me a thought, you see, while she was speaking to somebody else. So I thought of another very humorous incident that took place. It so happened that we were at Arnavaz's place in Bombay, and Baba was in his room resting. But prior to having gone to his rest, in the daytime, Arnavaz was having a headache, you see, or she was uneasy about it. And Baba inquired, and Baba told her to take a tablet of aspirin at bedtime. So she had prepared for it, and Baba reminded her once in the daytime, remember to take it at bedtime so that you'll feel relaxed, you see. So she said, yes, Baba, I'll take it. Then later on in the afternoon, Baba again reminded her, remember to take that. She said, yes, Baba, I'll take it. And just before going to his room, he again reminded her. So she said, yes, Baba, I'll take it. And it so happened that when she was about to go to bed, it was about 10 o'clock in the night, and Arnavaz comes, you see, all flustered. She didn't know what to do, and I said, what's the matter? She says, you remember that Baba told me to take a tablet of aspirin at bedtime? I said, yes. He says, but the trouble is, it's in Baba's own room, that medicine chest is there, and how can we disturb him now? And he has ordered me, so what can I do now? And the chemists are all shut, otherwise we would have bought it. And she was very much, very sad about the whole thing, that Baba took pains to remind her so often, and she misses this opportunity now, what to do? She completely forgot about her ailment, her headache, and whatever it was. All the time she was very mindful of having slipped, you see, and not knowing what to do. So all of a sudden I thought of a plan. I said, why do you worry about it? If it's I know where it is, in Baba's room. And I know how to, because I had access to Baba's bedroom, you see. So I'll get it. You don't feel nervous about it. Just relax. It's all right. So I said, I'll get it for you. So I took out my shoes, you see. First of all, the most important thing that creates noise, you see, we just tiptoed to the door, opened it very, very gently, got inside, because Baba was very susceptible even to little whiff of breeze also, anything was off. So immediately I shut the door also, but very gently, I tiptoed. Baba was on his side, that side, you see. He was not facing the room, he was facing the wall, in bed. So I went to the chest, gently opened the chest, opened the bottle, got a couple of pills, got it in my hands, shut the chest, and while shutting the chest, I got a thought in my mind. I said, well, it seems that I am an adept thief, you see. I can even commit a theft in Godman's own room, you see. Without his knowledge, it seems. So, just you see how the mind works. Mind is that, all the time, mind that comes in our way. So the mind started prompting me, and I felt more and more elated with all my achievement, you see. That without Baba coming to know about my entry, without Baba coming to know about my having taken the pills and all that, I will be now very easily going out of the room. So, just as I had entered without making a noise, I succeeded in getting out of the room. And and Baba was all the time in deep sleep, so to say. Heavily breathing, I could hear, not snoring but heavily breathing. And the night watchman that was there, you see, knowing fully well that I was permitted to come whenever I wanted and all that, he didn't object, otherwise he would have thrown me out, you see. So he was astonished at my entering the room first of all, and I told him to keep quiet about it. So he permitted me to do whatever I liked. And I went out and I smiled at him, and no sooner I put my foot out, crossed the threshold with one foot, and was about to cross the other, and gently I came, tried to... Baba caught me there, you see, clapped, and he turned on his side, and he asked the other person who was inside the room now. So the night watchman reported that Eruch had entered the room. What was he doing here? He was doing something, calling. So I was called inside. So what were you doing inside this room? So I then explained to him the whole thing. So it's all right. It's all right.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. It's all right. You were there, or Krishna?
I was
you
there.
Were there. So that's how it is. So we find him in deep sleep, mind you. But he's always, his sleep is the sleep of the awake, fully awake. The body rests, but he is awake. That's what he wants us to be all the time, you see. In deep sleep we must be fully conscious. And that's the state of God realization. That's one of the most important signs of a person who is what Baba is. That's what they wanted. Many are better than me. Come on. Now you all can go now. It's too much.
Baba began replying to my letter, welling through the heart center. Yes, I do accept you. You may serve my cause. You do have my love. Welling through. Me with. So those were the first two meetings in the spirit. The actual first physical meeting came 2 years later, in 1934, when Baba came to America and was at the Shelton Hotel. And this was in December, and it was quite cold, of course, up in New York. And we had an appointment on a Wednesday to see Baba, but due to storms at sea, Narina had sent us a cable, Narina and Elizabeth, a cable saying that due to the delay of the ship, they came by ship in those days, it wasn't, the jet age hadn't arrived yet, and due to the delays, many of the interviews had to be cancelled. Ours was among them, but we would get to see Baba on Thursday at the reception at the home of the Stokes in Greenwich Village. Well, actually, when we got up that morning to go, it was 4 o'clock, and as we went out the door, we discovered this telegram on our door. And we thought a moment, and we, of course, decided we certainly wouldn't barge in or anything, but we should go, and we would just sit in the lobby, and maybe we'd see Baba going by, you know. That would be worth it for us, even if we didn't have an interview that first day. So we went along anyway, and we did go to the Shelton Hotel, and we did get there before Baba's party arrived. And we were sitting in the lobby when Narina came in. She was in a taxi preceding Baba. And she walked over to us and she said, "My dears, what are you doing here? Didn't you get my cable?" And we said, yes, Narina, don't worry, we're not going to barge in. We just want to sit here in the lobby and maybe we'll see him when he goes by. And she said, she saw how we felt. Well, she said, "Baba is coming in the taxi right following ours. Maybe he'll see you for a moment." And sure enough, just then Baba did come in the doorway, and Narina hastily walked over to him and had a conversation with him and nodded toward us. And Baba looked over our way, nodded in the affirmative, and Baba and Narina walked over to us. Baba was dressed in warm Western clothing, with a hat on, an overcoat, but he was just as beautiful as one could imagine, more beautiful than one can imagine, let me put it that way. And this was our first physical meeting with Baba. That first hand clasp, I felt, might have reached down through thousands of years to us. And those eyes, the beauty, one can't be in Baba's presence and be the same. This is an impossibility. Just being in his presence was just walking into divine beauty, divine love, divine radiance. And it was just a very brief moment. And then he walked toward the elevator, and we walked toward the seats in the lobby. And as we walked away from Baba, Jean had such an overpowering urge to turn around and take a peek at Baba. And exactly at the same time she was turning, Baba also turned and head out. She quickly looked away and she didn't want Baba to think she was staring at her. The sound must have precipitated it. And again, she just couldn't resist turning around to catch another glimpse. And at exactly the same time, Baba turned around and said, this happened 3 times. And of course, it made quite an impression on Jean. Me too. So we were very happy, exceedingly happy, just as joyful as could be, and very exuberant after this first contact with Baba. And we sat there in the lobby. There was another lady who had come from Scarsdale, and she had baked a cake for Baba, and she had hoped to see Baba, but we told her it would be unlikely because of the heavy schedule and many cancellations. And she was going to sit there, and we had no place to go. We just wanted to absorb what we had received, so we just sat there with her. And we had no hope of seeing Baba again that day. Didn't even think of it. We had quite enough. I mean, this exposure to him. That impact was something to deal with. And but I think we must have sat there a couple of hours, perhaps more, when suddenly Elizabeth walked over to us, and she said, you 3 must be the ones that Baba talked about. And then she told us that Baba was upstairs seeing people, and all of a sudden he held a halt to everything and motioned 3 downstairs. Now, Baba, there, she said, there are 3 people down in the lobby you want me to bring up. Baba said yes. So she came down and found us sitting there. So to our great surprise and delight, we had this second opportunity to see Baba on that day. And this time we were brought up to his suite, and Baba was sitting in a bedroom in an Indian sadra, his hair of course all down then, and beautiful flowing mustache, and sitting on the edge of the bed. And he seemed to me, from the distance, he seemed to combine 2 opposites of unimaginable strength and yet a wraith-like being, so frail. He seemed to combine these opposites. And Jean later said that she doesn't know how she got over to him. She has no recollection at all of getting to him or of anyone else being in the room. There were some there. And we walked over, and Baba had this other lady sit on his right and Jean on his left, and I was sitting behind Jean. And he patted us and looked into our eyes so lovingly, and of course the modern term is, were we zapped? And this other lady, bang, that was it. We were wiped out. And so this other lady couldn't contain herself, and she just threw her arms around Baba. Oh, my beloved, at last I found you, my master. And Jean also wanted to do this, but she was somehow frustrated, and she began to weep. And she couldn't contain her weeping. And she was thinking to herself, what am I doing, this wonderful moment, and here I'm uncontrollably weeping, and spoiling it all. And immediately Baba disengaged himself from the other woman, put his hand on Jean's wrist. It was like turning the faucet off. Everything stopped. She heaved a sigh. She was free of all that, and then she could really absorb this wonderful few moments with Baba. And he held his hand on her wrist for a while, and he just looked past her into my eye. And I felt as though he were moving things aside and looking way back. And I knew that he could see me through and through and through, far more so than I ever suspected I was there, you know. And he seemed to be planting seeds there, thoughts, latent thoughts and things that I sensed. I couldn't quite figure out what they were at the time. But his love was just something one couldn't describe. We had very little conversation with Bhau. There was no need for it. If we had any thoughts, any questions, anything to talk about, what he gave us was so far beyond anything that could be formulated in a thought or a question that's simply gone. See? And he said, among other things, I have always been helping you. How far is always? And I think this would apply to every one of us, each one. He has always been helping us to come to this point and to come to the next point, nearer to him and deeper into his being. And so this was the first day, and the next day, the reception was to be held at the home of the Stokes in Greenwich Village, and we were among those who were invited. I think around 400 were invited. They didn't all come at once. They had different times, so that there was a constant moving in and moving out. And the waiting room was a large library on the second floor, and Bhau sat in a little meditation room, a room which had been dedicated for meditation purposes, off the balcony of the library. And when it came our turn to go to see Bhau, each one would walk up the little stairway, and someone was at the door, and they would whisper, no questions. Just had the contact with Bhau. No questions. And so we walked in and fell into Bhau's arms and received his divine embrace. And this time I also felt just a wee bit of Bhau's power. And as we came out, there were 4 of us together. While everyone else was trickling in and trickling out, we just happened to notice over in the back of the library there were some chairs that no one was using at all. And we thought, well, let's go sit there, and if they don't want us to be here, they'll tell us to go. So we were really greedy for Bhau's love. And so we did. We went back there and we sat there, and each time that door was opened, we saw Bhau and the welling out of his love. And this went on for about, of course at that time, I guess we didn't realize that this door was no obstacle to Bhau's love. That whole area was being permeated, and we were being permeated through and through. But after about 2 hours of that, we were quite literally intoxicated. We were just intoxicated with Bhau's love. And when the interviews were over with, we were still there. We didn't have enough sense to go. And the lights were turned up, and Bhau came walking out and down the stairs, and he smiled lovingly at us. And he wasn't annoyed that we stayed and absorbed so much of him. But that's the way it was, always around Bhau. It was very difficult to tear yourself away from Bhau. I mean, you would think, when is the next chance I can get to see him? Like, he's coming down the stairs. Maybe if we're down the stairs, we'll see him when he's going out, you know. And sure enough, we did. Another loving glance. His love glances. He would find you over there. No matter where you were, that love glance just transformed you.